Hello, and welcome to Appleton Engaged. I'm your host, Timber Smith, Special Assistant to the Mayor for Community, Culture, and Belonging.
And I'm Andy Anam, the Communications Manager for the city.
Appleton Engaged is the podcast that explores the many people, organizations, and resources that make our community a great place to live, work, and play. So whether you're a longtime resident or just getting to know Appleton, join us as we learn more about our community together.
The tagline of this organization is Invest in Her, and they're committed to bettering the lives for women and girls.
I'm very excited about this conversation, partially because I've seen the great impact and great work that this organization has done in this community. So this is going to be a fun conversation. So this week's guest is Julie Keller, the Executive Director for the Women's Fund for the Fox Valley region. Hey, Julie, how's it going?
Hey, it's going good. Thanks for having me today. Good to see you.
Thank you for making time for our Appleton Engaged listeners. Can you please tell us a little something about yourself and your association with Appleton and the surrounding Fox Cities region?
Sure, absolutely. I am actually a Wisconsin native. I grew up on the western side of the state. I went to UW Oshkosh, so I'm a graduate, a Titan. Titans. And then I lived on the east and west coast for about 10 years before coming back to this area and settled in Appleton in 2002. At that time, I switched my career to the nonprofit field, and I've been there ever since. And I raised my family in Appleton, and this is actually the longest place I've ever lived, including my hometown.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I like it. I'm here to stay.
You're here to stay? All right. Well, we're glad we have you.
Thank you.
All right. Julie, at this time, can you please tell us about your resource?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Women's Fund for the Fox Valley region is based in Appleton, and we've been serving this community for over 30 years. This is our 30th anniversary, so we're really excited about all of the work that has been done and all the work we will continue to do. We started with 108 donors who donated $1,000 each, and today we're over $3 million in assets. So from that small but mighty group, 30 years ago, we've really grown and have had really great impact. We support over 119 nonprofit organizations during that time, 264 programs. We have invested over $2.6 million back into our community, specifically for women and girls. And I say specifically and intentionally because that's really what we're all about. How can we meet the needs of women and girls, the barriers they face, the challenges they face through the work that we do?
What does some of that programming look like?
Yeah, so the way we do this work is we really do it through a lot of different avenues. So kind of the biggest one that people most know us for is our granting. So we make grants to nonprofit partners that are really on the front lines of helping and addressing some of those issues and barriers for women and girls. So that's a big part of what we do. We do that through our unrestricted grant making. We do that through donors who have funds with us who want to have an impact for women and girls. So we have multiple ways that we get money back into the community. We do a lot also strategic initiatives, I call them. So we really look at what is happening out there for women and girls and how we can have an impact. So our longest running initiative is called Starting Point 2.0, and that is an initiative with Fox Valley Technical College and BABES Child Abuse Prevention Program. And that is really addressing how can we help female-headed households, so single moms, increase their education so they can get jobs that sustain a family and pay that family living wage. So that's a great example of what we, the Women's Fund, saw happening in our community and how we could address that particular issue by collaborating with the partners. We don't do the programming. We're not doing the day-to-day programming. We're doing the strategy. Who can we bring together to solve some of these challenges that are facing women and girls? We also do things like research. So this program came from the research that showed that female-headed households had the lowest poverty rate of any household type, including male-headed households. And they also had relatively lower educational attainment rate. So that was the idea of the research telling us this is a need. And then the Women's Fund leadership at that time saying, how can we address this need? And so this particular program, it's over 180 women who have graduated. It's a 2-generational approach because we know those kids in the household are more likely to succeed in life if they're not living in poverty day to day. So those are some of the types of things that we do. Also, education and awareness. What is happening out there for women and girls? How can we raise the issues of some of the systematic barriers that we still face today in 2025 for women? So those are some of the issues that we do. It's really a broad, overreaching look at the challenges, barriers, and then what are the solutions and how can we help?
Locally, what are some of the challenges you're seeing that women are facing, especially in the Fox Cities region area?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So we see a lot of issues with women just having those barriers that we know are systematic to our society, if you will. So especially during COVID, a lot of those really rose to the surface. So we actually did a study on the impact of COVID on women in Northeast Wisconsin. And a lot of what we saw were things that we saw nationally. You know, women are more likely to stay home and take care of kids. They're more likely to have a career break when they're taking that time off to care for their kids. We've talked a lot about re-entering the workforce after you have that break. It's very hard if you have left the workforce for 5 years, you want to come back, and people are telling you, well, you just kind of have to start over. You know, you've had experience, you have a master's degree, maybe you have all this great knowledge and things you can add, but because you have that break, then it's harder for you to get back in the workforce at the level you left at. So we talk a lot about those issues because that leads to wage gaps. You know, that's why women oftentimes have less earnings than men. And oftentimes we see that throughout their lifespans. So a lot of studies have shown that women have fewer retirement assets. And a lot of that is because they took that break. They weren't paying into Social Security. They weren't saving for a 401k. They didn't get the employer match. So a lot of those types of issues and just having those opportunities to really be able to thrive. We're seeing a lot that we're doing with younger girls. We're doing some work with how can we expose more girls to careers that maybe they didn't think about. So we've supported some STEM initiatives, really looking at why girls, their interest in STEM wanes off as they get older and what is it. And that's what I say when I say intentionally, that's what I'm trying to get at. That's what we are trying to get at is what is it that results in girls' interest in like a STEM career declining as they get into high school and then college and then fewer women in that field. So those are the types of things that we like to support. We've actually supported like Appleton Police Department had a Women in Public Safety Day that we supported because women in public safety, very low percentage, great careers, right, for women. And a lot of women don't even consider it because we often say you can't be what you can't see. If I don't see women in this career or in this area, then I don't think it's for me or I don't think I belong. So those are just a wide variety of some of the issues that we help with.
Can't be what I can't see. I can't. Oh my God, I talk about how important representation is all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so we want those girls, young women, all women, to really see all of the possibilities out there. Because I think a lot of times women will just decide that this career isn't for me, or I won't even consider that type of a career because I don't see other women there. Or a challenge too is if you are in that career and you are the only woman sitting at the table, that's hard too. You maybe don't feel like you belong or you don't fit in there or you have unique challenges, you know, being one of the few women in the room. So that is something that we are highly aware of.
So I had the chance of going to 2 of your events, which was, you know, so moving in many ways. And remarkable stories, impactful stories came out, and the way your Women's Fund supported those women to, like, you know, move on with their life and get a good career and a safe environment for their family. Would you like sharing a couple of more stories with us? I'm sure our listeners would love it.
Yeah, so we'd love to share those stories and those impact stories because it's really all, I say we really help women, one person, one family at a time, and that really is making the difference. So we traditionally at our event have speakers from programs that we have supported in the past. And some of those stories are women who were in poverty, who maybe were in abusive relationships, and did that starting point program. And that was really what they needed at that time to really say, I have hope for the future. I can see a different future than what I have now. A lot of women in some of those situations, they see no hope. They see no future. They're just trying to get through day to day. So by offering them this opportunity to really think about themselves, what are their gifts and talents? What are they good at? Give them the resources. And even just women often say, like, I had no idea there were so many resources. Like, what? I can get diapers. I can get these basic needs. Somebody will help me with my resume. So these are all like life-changing things for a lot of women, and just giving them that spark. They're doing the hard work and the heavy lifting. We're providing the opportunity for them, and it's really exciting to see women really succeed in doing that. And it's really a holistic approach, because if a woman is trying to go back to school, there may be childcare issues, there may be transportation issues, there may be issues of self-esteem, like, I can't do this, I'm not smart enough, I don't have the time. So really looking at it holistically, and not just saying, well, here's some scholarship money, go to school and you'll be fine. It's really looking at, what do you need to succeed once you're there? And once you're there, what do you need to make sure that you can complete your educational goals and be able to sustain that job for yourself and your family? So I love the holistic approach, kind of how the Women's Fund operates and does its work.
What I appreciate about it is being in that space of the event. Is this room is elbow to elbow of women, impactful, powerful women who are helping to shape our community and uplifting us in professional ways and personal ways and family ways and community ways. And it feels so warm in the space. Can you talk a little bit about that, the unity, the community of women that come together behind this?
Yeah, it is really quite amazing. And this year in September will be our 25th annual luncheon.
Wow.
So this is an event that has been strong from day one and continues to grow. We moved to a bigger space last year.
It's still elbow to elbow.
And still elbow to elbow, right, exactly. But we could fit more elbows in there, right? There was a little bit more room. And it's often an event that people just have on their calendars. They know it's in September. They know the Women's Fund will have this every year. They know it will be inspiring. They'll leave there feeling really good. And just seeing the women in the room and how they interact with each other, and there's hugs, and they haven't seen each other maybe since the last Women's Fund luncheon. I've heard stories of women saying they met at the Women's Fund luncheon, and 10 years later they're still friends, but it was a Women's Fund luncheon that brought them together and they met there. So it's really an opportunity for women to come together, to have that unity. It's a fundraiser, but people are really there to support each other and to support women and celebrate what women have done in this community.
Nope, I could tell. I saw so many women like calling your volunteers to hey, I want to donate this. I've never seen any fundraiser people doing that.
Yeah.
They're calling people, hey, I want to, even if it's $20 or $50 or $75, every dollar makes a difference. Yep. And I think we as women know that very well, that, it's for us, for our community, for our sisters. And I think that particular feeling of unity is pretty moving for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really one of our philosophies for a Women's Fund, is all of us coming together and saying, individually we can do so much, but together, let's pool our resources, let's come together, let's see what we can do together. And I think women's philanthropy is a lot like that. We like to do that with other people and have that greater impact, and then celebrate that greater impact at something like the luncheon.
How do people get involved? Because it felt like you have this amazing, very organized team making things happen. And I'm thinking, as we're having this conversation, people are saying, you know what? I'm about that life. How do I get involved?
Yeah. So we're a small but mighty team of 3 at the Women's Fund. Wow. So we do rely on a lot of volunteers. Yeah. Yes. So, 3 people can't pull off everything that we do. So we do have a lot of volunteers. A lot of people actually kind of start out with helping us plan the luncheon because they're like, oh, that was fun. I enjoyed that. I want to be a part of that. And so we get a good number of people that kind of want to get introduced to the Women's Fund and join our luncheon events committee to be involved. And people just kind of hear about us and the work we do. And, I am open to having coffee with mostly anybody who is interested in learning more and how they want to get involved. And we have, we need people who are good communicators and good marketers. We need people who help us review grant applications, who can really help us make those decisions, really important decisions about where we invest our dollars. We need people to help us raise money, right? So we have development committee people. So really there's a lot of, we're not a traditional nonprofit where we have a shelter to clean or, children to read books to or that type of thing, but we're definitely more committee focused, people who are really passionate about our mission and just want to be involved and make that impact with us. And I have people who tell me, like, I've met so many cool women through the Women's Fund, people I never would have, met if it hasn't been, for the Women's Fund and meeting people and being involved on committees or boards or that sort of thing. It's just the whole organization is really very empowering.
So our listeners may know that this March is Women History Month and tomorrow is International Women's Day. I think this episode will come out later, but March 8th, as you know, is a International Women's Day. So are there any upcoming initiatives, way to volunteer, engagement? How are women can help you more?
Yeah, absolutely. So March is kind of a big month for us because of everything that happens. It is International Women's Day, as you said. Equal Pay Day falls in March. So for those that don't know, about mid-March is how far into the new year women have to work to make the same amount men did on December 31st of the prior year. So that is also in March. Women's History Month is in March. So if people want to check out our Facebook page and scroll back to the March postings, you'll see 30 women who we have highlighted that are making history, really just to raise awareness. So March is a really important time for us to celebrate, to come together. We have some smaller events that we do, gatherings that we do. We did something at the Building for Kids. I wanted to say Children's Museum. We did something at the Building for Kids working with the kids over there about, women in history and projects and books and things like that. So we try to really get the community involved and people who want to join us. It's a great time to come in and learn more and get involved and see where you fit. That's the big thing. I want people to be able to see where they fit and what they want to do to support the Women's Fund.
What can the community do to be helpful?
A lot of it is really having conversations like this. Everybody can support women in their lives. Men and women both can support the women in their lives. We do a lot of work with how we can support and mentor women in the workforce. We talk a lot about how you can support young women and how you can be a role model to young women. So really talking about the issue and some of the inequities that you see or that you face. I'm still surprised that women who have children are often asked when they're going to quit their job. This is 2025. We're not asking the men who just had babies if they're going to quit their job, but we like to ask the women that question. So kind of pointing that out and raising that awareness that those are some of the things that are still happening today. Advocating as you see fit. There's a lot of things going out there for women. One of the things we're working on a lot is childcare. There's a childcare alliance in our region that's really looking at kind of the childcare needs, the model, the fact that it's so expensive for families. And yet there's mainly women working in childcare who are highly educated and don't make much money at all. So really looking at what are some other models for providing childcare in our community. So getting involved in those things. So whatever your passion is, if it's childcare, if it's women's wages, if it's supporting and mentoring other women, we have the Monthlies Project that some of your listeners may have heard about. It's really how do we end period poverty in our community. We have school-age menstruators who don't go to school because if they don't have menstrual products, they stay home. So how can we provide menstrual products? So that's a great partnership with Feeding America and others in our community about how can we provide products to schools. And that's a way that a lot of people have also gotten involved with us, is doing drives, for that type of thing. Invite us into your workplaces, your organizations. We'll talk about the Women's Fund. We can educate you on whatever you want to know more about and how you can be involved. We're happy to do that. But just keep the conversation going. Keep the conversation going would be critical.
Is there any misunderstandings or myths that are out there generally that people have about the organization or about the needs of women today?
Yeah. I think some people think we're for, those women who are poor and women who have less opportunity. And we do fund a lot of programs that maybe support women who are in violent situations or, like I said before, single moms, women in poverty. But I think the misconception is really the Women's Fund is for everyone. And for men and women, really, because we know that if we support women, have strong women, our community is better, our families are more stable, our community is better, and it's just a win-win for everybody. I think that COVID, unfortunately, brought up a lot of the inequities that women face, that we as women kind of knew were happening, but the rest of the world didn't. As far as, being the primary caretakers, women, stayed home with their kids to supervise online schooling. They tried to do their job as well. And, that was just kind of a breaking point for a lot of women. So that's why we saw so many women at that time leave the workforce. And it had an impact on our economy, and that's the thing. It's like people finally said, oh, wow, all of these women have left the workforce and we are feeling it. Childcare was an issue then. It was always an issue, but it was a bigger issue then, and now more people are interested in it. Employers are not interested in childcare, where before maybe they thought like, oh, that's not our problem to deal with. So I think it's really raised some awareness there as far as what are some of those issues, and it's not just the single moms in poverty, that are supported by the Women's Fund. It's really our women and our community at large.
So who can people contact if they want to learn more or want to get involved with the organization?
Yeah, they can first go to our website, womensfundfvr.org, and they can look at all of the different programs we have, the grants, the scholarships, the events we have coming up, the educational opportunities, ways to get involved. That is a first start. They can email me directly at jkeller@womensfundfvr.org and reach out if they want to have more of a conversation and learn more about the Women's Fund. Happy to talk to people about it. We're on social media, so that's a good way to kind of follow what we're doing and what's happening and learn about upcoming events and things like that. We do have periodic events throughout the year really to raise awareness. We call it Connection Matters because we really want to connect people to talk about some of these things that we talked about here today. So we've had an opportunity on childcare to really have a smaller group discussion about what's happening with childcare and why and how people can get involved with solutions. We talked a lot about teenage girls' mental health. That's a really big issue. And when one of the CDC studies came out, I think it was last year, that really pointed out that in particular young girls' mental health was declining more than any other group. We had a conversation of that. We said, let's bring the therapists in. What are you hearing? What is happening with our girls? And then how can we help and how can we support? So we're here to talk about those challenges and issues, and also what you as a community, what you as an individual can do to support that. So you can find all of that information on our website and social media, and reach out to me directly if you have any other questions.
So, Julie, is there any additional information you would like to share with the Appleton Engage listeners at this time that maybe we didn't ask a question about?
I think really it is about using your voice, getting involved, being aware of what is happening around you for women and girls and other marginalized communities, and then seeing where you can plug in and get involved and what your passion is. It's really a good time. We are, like I said, it's our 30th anniversary. We have big plans going forward, more things that we want to do. And so we just really appreciate the community support and involvement.
Now it's the time to shout out. So who do you want to send your shout out to?
Shout outs. Well, as I said before, we are a mighty team of three. So I will give our shout out to Terry St. Lawrence, our development manager, and Stacey Haslett-Rothy, our communications and outreach specialist. And we have a lot of fun, and I think that is such a joy. It's a joy to do this work because I'm so passionate about the mission. It's also a joy to do it with people who are also passionate and you can also have fun with. And so it's been a joy to work with those two women, and we have a great board. Our board is not afraid to shy away from the tough issues, the hard conversations, the things we need to do. Looking forward, what does it mean for a women's fund that's been around for 30 years? What are the needs for the women going forward in the future? Different maybe than the women who started it 30 years ago, and so they are always forward thinking and wanting to do better and wanting to do more. And are willing to put in the work behind it. So I think those are my shout outs for today.
Awesome. Well, at this time, we're going to start wrapping up this episode. So, Julie, we just want to take a moment and say thank you to you. At this time, Appleton Engaged listeners, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you for spending time with us. Thank you for giving us your minds and ears. Thank you for caring about another amazing resource in our community, making this a better place to be, taking care of each other and taking care of our neighbors. One of our goals is to become the #1 podcast in Northeast Wisconsin, and we can't do it without your help. So how do you help? Well, there's many ways. One is, as you're listening, if there's questions you would like us to ask future guests, or if there's segments you think we should do, please let us know. If you are a resource out there and would like to be a guest, let us know. And as you listen to other episodes and you're thinking, I would like to hear more about this organization, let us know. You can reach out to us at belonging@appletonwi.gov. Once again, that is belonging@appletonwi.gov. Also, we think we have something pretty special here in a resource known as Appleton Engaged Podcast, and we'd like more community members to learn about it and get in more ears. How do we do that? It's called analytics. So while you're listening to this podcast right now, take a moment, press the subscribe button. If there's an opportunity to give us rankings, give us those 5 stars, not 4. And if you've got a few more moments, go ahead and fill out a review for us. These are all things that increase our analytics, and the better our analytics, the more people get to learn about this amazing resource known as the Appleton Engaged Podcast.
Thank you so much, Julie. This particular episode will forever be one of the one I will always hear and ask people to learn more because, of course, investing in her is something very close to my heart too. So I will ask my listeners to go and check out the website. Getting involved is the best way you can support. So check out all the opportunities the Women's Fund has to offer at this time. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay curious, and stay engaged.